Hello everyone, Toon Ganondorf here and welcome to this multi-part video series called Top 10 Campaigns. In these videos I will be listing the top 10 campaigns by UK Robot Wars machines in their quest for the UK Championship title. How close a robot came to victory is a major factor, but I'll also be taking into account the quality of opponent, the robot's relative domination, the entertainment of the fights, the narrative behind the robot, and any surrounding circumstances. Please let me know in the comments section below what your thoughts are at the end of the video. Number 10, PUSSYCAT. After putting on arguably the worst performance of any seeded machine in the history of the show, Team Cold Fusion revamped their coal scuttle into the brilliantly designed robot that always landed on its feet. Landing in a heat that contained two reigning semi-finalists, one of whom was the heavily favoured Cassius II, PUSSYCAT quickly announced itself as a favourite. Despite its unconventional design, it managed to push Hammerhead into the pit for a KO victory, having run rings around its sluggish opponent. But what made PUSSYCAT's campaign truly impressive was the scalp it took in round 2. David Gribble's legendary driving turned what would have been an instant KO into one of the greatest upsets in the Third Wars. One only had to watch the speed with which Cassius II and PUSSYCAT jumped off their markers to know the winner of this bout was a definite favourite for the title. But fate had a nasty surprise for PUSSYCAT, who had outlasted Scudder's revenge and was claiming victory in the heat final even with a broken weapon, only to be served disqualification instead. Though its campaign was cut short, PUSSYCAT would no doubt have been a threat to 101 in the semi-final, and possibly Hypnodisc beyond that, but fans would have to wait for the following year to see PUSSYCAT meet its full potential. Number 9, Pitbull. Where goes a cat, there goes a dog. Pitbull's Series 3 campaign is one of the most under-recognised in analysis of the Third Wars, much like Pitbull itself. To place Pitbull in the same company as Beast of Bodmin, Trident and Blade is to do the Nottinghamshire dog a disservice. Its first round victory over something was little cause for drama, but Pitbull announced itself as one to watch in a heat semi-final against Technophobic. Resisting the lifting attacks that would have claimed a lesser machine, it herded the former heat finalist onto the flames, sending it into total meltdown. In the heat final, the favoured Behemoth started on the offensive, despite Pitbull getting a strong grip and showing aggression. Fate made its move in the form of an arena spike, and Pitbull found itself the first beneficiary of Behemoth's 20-year battle with bad luck. But the next fight would add a remarkable symmetry to Pitbull's campaign, as it started on the front foot against FIRESTORM, holding down a machine that would go on to place third. This time when the spike struck, it was Pitbull who was felled, and the team would head out with Jonathan Pierce's wild screams of delight echoing in their ears. Number 8, the Big Cheese. In Series 3, someone had to be the heat finalist taken down by the eventual champion. And while Roger Plant built a Big Cheese, he also drew the short straw. The Big Cheese was a role model for other robots destined to come second in opportunity heats. Put on the best show that you can. Whether that is picking a robot up and delivering them to the pit like a parent dispensing of a filthy nappy, or managing to clamp one of the most nimble robots in the heat with a ponderous lifting arm and spinning them into the pit, the Big Cheese had the goods. Even when the Big Cheese had had its fun in rounds 1 and 2, it managed to put on a performance in the heat final that saw the battle declared the best of the series. The fight even culminated in the defeated Cheese picking a house robot clean off the floor until it broke in two. Few would argue that the Big Cheese in another heat would probably have ended up being one of the Series 3 semi-finalists, and even one extra bad fight would not be enough to keep its campaign out of our top 10. Number 7, Thing 2. Thing 2's run at the title was as grim and threatening as its ghoulish inspiration. Of all the Series 3 semi-finalists, Thing 2 had arguably the highest calibre of opponent to overcome. Prizefighter boosted speed, weapon and stream mech, Cerberus had balance and power, and All Talk was coming in as one of the most impressive Heat finalists of the previous war. Not a single one of them could stand in Thing 2's way, the relatively simple wedge bot bullying its foes into submission through sheer persistence. Nick Adams' driving was so strong that he managed to make Thing 2 a robot to fear on par with the biggest weapons of Series 3. It took the reigning champion Panic Attack to finally bring an end to Thing 2, and even then, Kim Davies needed the help of those all too recurring arena spikes. Number 6. Dietor. On surface level, Dietor's Series 3 campaign is about what is expected of an above-average Heat finalist. But what cannot be divorced from Dietor's Series 3 campaign is the incredible ordeal that the team had to go through to even take part. Peter Redman, Joe Gavin, Karen Byrne and Dietor were all set to board their ferry to the UK when a customs officer mistook Dietor's lifting arm for a shotgun. Though Dietor was indeed not packing heat, Customs ordered the team to completely dismantle the machine. Arriving at the studio, the team then had a single day to put their robot back together, a job that usually took around 4 months. In a stunning testament to determination and grit, in the same series where Razor broke down and Kilohertz couldn't see the pit, the one-day assembled Dietor knocked out 2 robots in combat, including a fairly functional Steel Avenger. In each fight, the team were tired and stressed, but they still managed to find time to lend a hand to teams who needed the extra help. Finally overcome by FIRESTORM in the Heat final, and hardly an embarrassing robot to fall to, Dietor may not have gone far in the UK Championship, but the circumstances are enough to push it beyond a dozen others. Number 5. 101. 101's Series 3 campaign was a story just begging to be told. Not only was it boasting a build cost of £1 and a penny and demonstrating that anybody could get out and build a robot, it was gearing up for a rematch with the robot to knock the team out of Series 2, King Buxton. And to 101's credit, it took down some good machines to get to that Heat final, with Overkill and Centurion unable to best Mike Franklin's bot despite their much higher budgets. The Heat final clash was far more entertaining than any Silver Box v Silver Box bout had any business being, and 101's victory over the expensive King Buxton was a poetic end to the battle, but not yet the campaign. 101 still had one more impressive battle up its sleeve, taking the incredibly dangerous Hypnodisc to one of the closest judges' decisions in the history of the show. The judges had never set foot in the arena to inspect for damage before, and while they did decide that 101 had lost the fight, it is hard to think of a more fitting end to a story about a father and daughter who built a robot on the cheap just to see how well they could do. Number 4. Hypnodisc. Hypnodisc's Series 3 campaign has always been synonymous with Wow Factor. Its eviscerations of Robogeddon and Stealth have been replayed more times on highlight reels than almost any other footage shot in the Third Wars. For a robot so vulnerable to one-flip KOs to take down so many lifter-flipper machines without fear is an achievement that only Typhoon 2 can boast. The damage dealt out by Hypnodisc was enough to instantly call it one of the favourites for the title in just 2 short fights. Even in the forgotten fights, the seemingly unremarkable clashes with Evil Weevil and STEG-O-SAW-US, Hypnodisc proved itself able to take down a reigning champion in Kevin Pritchard and stop a seemingly hardy Rambot from even taking part in a fight for 3rd place. Detractors will point to its close calls with Berserk 2 and 101 and the waning power of the disc. But while they are true that it is a threat to Hypnodisc's dominance, the fights do add much needed colour and anticipation to what might otherwise have been a bland stomp through a sea of inferior metal. Number 3. STEG-O-SAW-US. Much like Dietor, STEG-O-SAW-US's run in Series 3 cannot be analysed without the knowledge that it almost didn't take part at all. It was T-Rex who was originally slated to appear in the Third Wars, and when they withdrew at the last second, a future grand finalist was added to the Robot Wars canon. Without Steg, it seemed that another napalm heat win was on the cards, and fond as we are of the Dartford machine, the show was better off with this dinosaur in play. Aurak's revenge could only slap desperately at the hard green shell as they were bulldozed into the pit, and Henry was simply knocked out cold. Spirited performances from Napalm and Gravedigger tested the abilities of Dan King, Peter Rowe and Rob Heisman, but on both occasions they came out successful, and Stegosaurus went up against the still formidable champions of Series 1, Beast of Bodmin. A lesser robot might have blinked, but Steg bullied the Beast of Bodmin just as it had every robot prior, and went into the grand final as a king-slaying machine, where only Hypnodisc could bring them down. Fourth place was the best Stegosaurus could hope for given the company it was in, and it is all the more impressive that it achieved it. Not bad for a team who showed up to filming just to see if there was room for them. Number 2, FIRESTORM. One of the most famous upgrades from Series 2 to Series 3 was Graham Bone and Alex Mordew's FIRESTORM. Changing from the gangly gimmick Groundhog to a sleek wedge flipper nearly identical to Cassius's tried and tested design, FIRESTORM was a whole new level of competitive. Not many robots in Series 3 were designed to have an answer to Facet, but FIRESTORM did, becoming only the third machine in history to successfully self-right. And then FIRESTORM took that answer and turned the tables on the former semi-finalist opponent, showing that even a robot miles ahead of its competition could be felled early by superior skill and design. FIRESTORM's flipping arm quickly had it snap up the mantle that Cassius 2 had dropped, and this was no more obvious than in the second round of the semi-finals, where they went up against the reigning champion, Panic Attack. Here, FIRESTORM did what Cassius could not, pinning Kim Davis's machine against the arena wall and resisting every attack that the Welsh threw back. Like 101, FIRESTORM's campaign has a remarkable end and a Robot Wars first, catapulted over the arena wall by a robot who would go on to win the championship. Number 1, Chaos 2. And an undeniable first place it is. Chaos 2's run through Series 3 is one of the most dominant of any UK champion in the history of the show. Where to begin? Robot Wars had seen the idea of flippers before, but no robots had been thrown around the arena like Crocodilotron or Sonic. All of a sudden, 80-kilogram machines were made of cardboard and cork, and Roboteers who, a year earlier, had never even heard of a Streamec, were suddenly finding themselves left behind without one. Chaos 2 not only dominated a standout heat finalist like the Big Cheese, but put on enough of a show to win Battle of the Series, a mere 3 fights into its 7-fight campaign. By the semi-finals, Chaos 2 had power and showmanship, but there was so much more to add. The third shortest fight of the series, Trident has you covered. A vengeance battle with a robot to knock you out of the previous war, meet Mace 2. Defeating the robot who's just taken down the reigning champion in a way that's never been done before, delivering a knockout blow to the most destructive robot in the series, FIRESTORM and Hypnodisc won't even get to blink. Chaos 2 even launched attacks on Matilda and Shunt before they got to lift the trophy, adding even more flair and domination to an already impressive campaign. So what do you think are the most impressive campaigns of Series 3? Would you change the order? Would you add anybody? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time for the best campaigns of Series 4.